Good evening and welcome to the August, get this wrong one, September meeting of the Select Board. The,
September 16th.
yes, 16th. Grabbed the wrong one.
September 16th.
Yeah, September 16th, but, oh, thank you. I had the right one. Anyway, I'm going to call the meeting to order. I would like to mention the quorum is four of us that's sitting here, but Sam had his back operation. I'm wishing him well. I know you all are. So he won't be attending. He's not even driving now. He will be Zooming in. But I want to make mention of that. And we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll start right off with the approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the August 12th, 2025 meeting minutes as included in the packet.
I'll second.
All those in favor? All right, under new business, we are fortunate. I believe we had 4 people that applied to be on the Budget Committee, and Robert Wright was recommended by the Budget Committee. His resume was attached to our quite lengthy and very impressive.
Extremely impressive.
Did I hear a motion? Entertain a motion to accept him as recommended by the Budget Committee?
I'll make a motion to accept Robert Wright to the Budget Finance Committee.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Yep,
Just,
I'm
sorry, real quick, I just wanted to say to Robert that your education and experience should serve you well, and you will be a benefit to Raymond. So thank you for volunteering.
Well said. All those in favor? The next thing is a consideration of a business license for Kate Edlinski. I'm going to mess up that name awfully, but
Rudlinski?
I'll go with it.
I think
You got it.
Yeah, all right. Sorry about that. I can't pronounce
No
my
worry.
own name. Is there any question? I mean, these questionnaires are really well done now, and more information than we need. This will be at 1288 Roosevelt Trail. Anyone have any questions?
Where is that? Which?
1288,
Yeah, where is that?
the A-frame, right behind Goodhue.
Is it the A-frame with the wings on the side?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Larkin, any
Right
questions?
side, left side.
Entertain a motion to approve a license. I don't see anything in here that's striking in any reason at all.
Mr. Chairman, a comment from the fire department.
Sorry, I didn't see anything in here for you, but go ahead, Wayne. My apologies.
Yeah, we've only, for this and the next one coming up, the inspections were yesterday and today, so that's why you don't have anything in your packet. So everything was good with the exception of the property owner needs to complete the annual fire alarm inspection, testing, and maintenance, which is already scheduled for the 22nd. Needs to have the annual testing of his fire extinguishers throughout the facility completed. And that was it for Kate's business. She's in suite number 4. There's a number of suites in that building.
I thought she was 5.
It's number
Oh,
number
I'm-
5.
You're right.
5A.
Yeah, looking at the wrong sheet. Sorry, Kate.
No worry. Thanks, Wayne.
Well, I'd entertain a motion with the changes that the inspector.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor? So moved. Accepted. The next one is the license for the Skin Shift Studio, located at 12, same location.
Suite 4.
Yeah, Suite 4. Same location, 1288 Roosevelt Trail.
Wayne would probably have the same conditions.
Yeah, I would say that.
That's- sorry, Mr. Chairman, we would have the same items for suite number 4, and would recommend conditional approval.
A motion?
I'll move that. Accept the business license at 1288 Roosevelt Trail, number 4, for Skin Shift Studio, with the conditions of the fire inspector.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Moving right along, renewal license at East Shore Tavern. Kyle is here if there's any questions. Wayne, let's start with you before I get ahead of myself.
So, yes, we performed an inspection on August 19th. There were some deficiencies at the time of our inspection. Most of those, I received correction items today, and there's only a couple of small items. This business, if they have a dance license, which requires a special amusement permit from us, and a dance hall license from the State Fire Marshal's office. On those small items, if we make conditional approval that they're corrected before they come back before us for the special amusement, that should be fine.
Entertain a motion to that effect?
I'm sorry, Wayne, can you set special amusement for 2 things?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you say special amusement for 2 things?
Dancing and what else?
Yeah, so it's actually 4 things, but 2 things from this one right here is there's an outlet cover that we need to make sure is corrected, and there's some wiring outside the building for an external light that should be inside of a junction box, and that needs to be corrected. The other 2 items were specifically relating to the dance license, the special amusement permit, and the fire marshal's office inspection. So, that will come up at that point in time. So I know I made that kind of long-winded. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to hear from Kyle.
Wayne, were you able to get the photos today?
Kyle, would you state your name, please?
Oh, Kyle Bancroft, sorry about
And your
that.
address.
It's, you want the business address? 1248 Roosevelt Trail,
Okay,
Raymond,
close
Maine.
enough.
I sent the photos today of the exterior light that has a loom over the exposed wire. The junction box is further back into the building that was installed long before I got there. So what we did was talked to an electrician. They said, put this wire loom over it. That covers it. There's no more exposed wire. I think that was a big concern, that there was just the exposed connection there. That's been retaped and then enclosed. I'm not sure that we're going to need another junction box outside if we have one inside of the building.
On that particular item, Kyle, we'll just swing back by, and I'll have John, he's much more in tune with the electrical side of this issue. I'll just have him look at it and make sure we're okay. I think probably with what you're telling me, I think we are on that item.
Did you receive the photo just to make sure that you did get the information? Okay.
I did, yeah.
And I believe the other one was the State Fire Marshal's office. My permit is still active until mid-October, so I'll be making a request for that coming up probably in the next week. And then once that gets inspected, that information gets sent to me and I could forward that to the town. The special amusement, I thought it was wrapped up with this application all at once. You guys have that. We use the bell system now. This is our first year with that, with the state of Maine. So everything is that requires us to get our license through them kind of was put into an online system. And I believe that the special amusement permit should have been in that system as well, because the state fire marshal, the dance license, all that was kind of in one place. So
think I see that right here.
Have,
Mr. Chair.
Kyle, have they
Yeah,
given you a
actually, yeah.
date for that inspection? Sorry.
I have not received a date yet. No, as soon as I do, I will forward that to you folks.
Well, go ahead.
So I have a question, Kyle. So what type of special amusement do you have at the East Coast Tavern?
East Shore Tavern. So there's a dance license with the state of Maine. That's what I have the state fire marshal coming in for.
Right.
He will re-inspect. He'll do a lot of the same stuff that Wayne does.
Right.
And then the special amusement permit is through you guys here at the town. So it just allows me to have my live music, my DJ. It's almost a duplicate of the state version. It's just a localized municipal version.
Is under number 8, it's asked about the dancing and entertainment. You list DAN 50726. Is that the license from the state? Is that
That
the
is.
license
Yep.
number?
And that's current right now.
Does that make sense, Wayne?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I
Well,
missed your,
under the question is filled out by the state. He actually, as Caleb pointed out, he answered yes to the license, and then he said DAN 50726, which must be the license number?
DAN 50726, yes, it is, for the entertainment license with the state fire marshal. That's correct.
Okay, so then we're down to just a couple of infractions, not infractions, but things that need to be corrected, I guess infractions. But you're all set, Wayne, we can vote this through with the last couple things that you mentioned.
Yep, just conditional, yep. I think would be good.
Okay, so I move to approve the liquor license for East Shore Tavern pending, or conditionally based on completion of the remaining action items as listed by the fire inspector.
Second, I have one question. I'll second it. Does that then have to come back in front of us, or it's just when you get the clarification from the state fire marshal, or you just send it to us and it's all set? I believe it would be all set, but I'm asking, right? And we waiting for that? Wayne, would we, I mean, what we're going to do is authorize this conditionally, so there's an assumption on my behalf that
It's
he'll be all
conditionally,
set.
once that's done,
He would
it's
just
done.
send
We
it
don't
to
have
us.
to vote it again, yeah.
Yep, that's what I'm hoping. I just wanted to clarify it, so that you would know as well as me.
And then you had mentioned the wall plate, sorry to interrupt. That was fixed as well, Wayne. I'm not sure if you didn't see the picture. So, I mean,
I didn't see that one, Kyle.
Okay.
I looked at a bunch of the pictures. There was one picture, it really wasn't showing much. So that's probably the one that we're talking about.
okay, so everything, I will resend that so you have it, but everything on that list, minus what we just talked about, was taken care of. So I just wanted to make sure that we're on the same page.
Okay. I've heard it, I had a second. All those in favor? Thank you for coming in, Kyle.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next thing on the agenda is reevaluation update by our assessor, Kurt LaBelle.
Kurt LaBelle, Assessor's Agent. So if you look in the packet, I've given you some statistical update information for the progress of the revaluation. Still in the data collection phase, but KRT has at least made its initial visit at about 70% of the properties in town. The remaining areas are primarily the Raymond Cape, some areas along the south side of Crescent Lake, and the commercial properties. So I would expect that over the course of the next few months, data collection, at least that first pass, will be completed. And KRT will then move into the sales analysis and the model formulation phase of the project. It looks like about 46% of the properties, there wasn't any one home, so the properties were just measured. Those folks will get a callback letter later on in the process asking for an appointment for an interior inspection. And hopefully we'll get our interior numbers up a little bit higher than what they are now with that. Of the properties visited where there was a homeowner present, there was about almost 700 of those. 91% of the time we get some sort of information on the interior of the house. either through a full inspection or what's happening more and more often with the onset of remote work, they've taken information at the door. A lot of times people are in the middle of their workday, they may be in meetings, and they don't really like to be interrupted unannounced, and they'll take a few minutes to give the information at the door, but they just don't have time to allow for a full inspection at that point. That's been more and more prevalent since the pandemic. I've encountered that quite a bit myself, just in my annual work that I do. When you kind of knock on the door and someone's on their computer in a Zoom meeting or, doing a task for work, they're not inclined to be bothered at that point. Total refusals are about 6%. Interior refusals about 3%. I would like to say I do appreciate the cooperation that we've received so far from the residents of Raymond. It is it's the kind of project that, no one really looks forward to doing, us or them. It's been 20 years. The townspeople have invested over $350,000 of their tax dollars towards this project, so we appreciate the level of cooperation that we've received thus far. It's in the end, it's your product. It's distributing your taxes. You're paying for it. So the most help that we can get from the residents, the better the product will be. On the budget side, one other thing. Tomorrow, I have representatives from KRT's personal property appraiser department is going to be coming to the office, and they're going to start business inspections starting tomorrow. That may be hit or miss. I'm not sure what their schedule is, whether they intend to get all of them done and then do declarations in the spring, but they will be visiting businesses for equipment inventory, so printers, copiers, desks, the whole gamut of business equipment. So that'll kick off tomorrow. There'll be 2 people from KRT conducting those inspections.
Kurt, before you move on, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Just for clarification. When we did, I think, revision, or whatever they call themselves, back in '05, they were actually doing a judgment on quality of the interior. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said publicly one time that what they're really doing is just going in to measure the rooms, right? They're not going in to saying they got a wonderful kitchen or, granite countertop or any of that, are they?
Yeah, what'll happen is the data collector will take information such as what kind of heat do you have, what kind of flooring do you have, what's the wall coverings, are they drywall, are they plaster, are they wood panel. They may make some notations about the interior for the appraiser, but ultimately the grade and condition of the home are set by the appraiser later in the process, and that's done with the information that's provided by the data collector. So the data collector isn't going to write up a big note about every property about how wonderful the inside is, but they will take the interior components. If there's something that they think the appraiser needs to know about when they come by later to make the actual appraisal on the property, they may make a notation, but they're usually just one-liners. I don't see much of that. It's mostly interior components only.
Are you saying there's 2 different people that will be looking at each home?
Oh yeah, the data collectors are there only to collect physical information about the property, and there could be anywhere from 2 to 10 of those folks. Because the information, a measurement is a measurement. But the appraisal process, because you want continuity and consistency amongst the whole 4,000 parcels, that will be done by 1 and at most 2 people. So that person, when they're applying valuation grades and conditions, they're doing it consistently. So you don't have 5 people all with a different idea in their head of what good condition is for a particular house of a particular age. So yes, there's most of the time the resident probably won't have interaction with the appraiser. They're going to be coming right down, pulling into every driveway, looking at the card, looking at the house, looking at the information, knowing what they've been to up and down the street, what other similar properties are, And that takes place over the course of probably 3 to 4 week period instead of months and months.
So they won't be going in a second time?
No,
Just
I don't,
working on it.
I don't anticipate.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
But it's
anticipate.
good to tell the public, because it was kind of confusing the first time around.
Yeah.
There's a different company, obviously.
Yeah, Vision typically runs that same formula, though. I think in '05, I wasn't here, but I had another reval going in another town, and there was the same idea, a whole team of data collectors, and then 1 or 2 appraisers. Usually around January, February, somewhere in there, is when the appraisers will come in to town.
Thank you.
On the budgetary side, currently, we've expensed out $97,000 to KRT. That's about 31% of the contract cost. It falls in line with basically where they're at. They're at 70% on data collection, but there's still analysis and things like that that are going to reduce that. And for my coverage is running about 20%. This is mainly covering the additional time that we've spent either solving, triaging things that have come up with KRT, or it took quite a bit. It took a few extra days to get commitment lined up because there have been a lot of property valuation changes for this year as the result of these site visits. You know, we've got probably, I don't know, maybe 1,000 properties that are having some level of change purely from data correction. So it might be that the home measurements were slightly off one way or the other, or it may be that there's been some things done to a home that we didn't know about, finished basement, additional components to the house. And those, I found that most of those changes are either adding or subtracting from current value 30,000 or less. You know, I've QC'd, I've checked everything to 20,000. Most of the big changes are changes I've made as a result of permitted work. Most of KRT's changes are relatively small, not substantial. So the model, the implementation of the new valuation model will come next year. So some people will see small change this year, and then the model, the new valuations next year. So I do expect higher than normal call volume to our office this year because of that, because there will be a lot more people who had their value change who didn't necessarily obtain a building permit, and they'll likely be inquiring as to what that was and why that happened. So I expect that we'll have increased traffic that way. Could have increased traffic on appeals. You know, if there were properties that I did revisit that KRT had been to that had higher changes to ensure that the changes were correct. But some of these smaller changes to the tune of $10,000, just not time. So we'll have to validate them as people inquire. Last thing I have on the revaluation is the Board of Assessment Review. We have several vacancies on that board. I'll be working with Mel over the next month or two. I haven't gotten concrete answers. I believe that board is populated by appointment by the SelectBoard, but I'm not 100% sure about that at this point, because this board does hear appeals beyond the SelectBoard. So we just got to solidify the process for getting people on that board, and then we'll be advertising for interested parties, for qualified people who may have experience in appraisal or may have experience in the legal realm, or other, types of things that might government, anything to do with regulation, those types of things, they tend to fit well with that type of a board. So that'll
What's
be,
the time period on that? What's the schedule you'd like to see that happen?
well, if we could have at least a quorum of that board by spring, MMA does offer annual training, usually in May, for boards of assessment review. It's very good training. It's done typically by Jensen Baird or a high-level law firm. And if we had that board populated, we could send that board to receive some good training. I don't anticipate them hearing cases from the revaluation until late winter, early spring of 2027. So appeals that come in the fall of 26 will have to work their way through me and the select board before they end up at the Board of Assessment Review if they go that far. So they'll be hearing cases potentially in the spring of 27, but if we can get that board populated a year prior, then we can get them some good training so they know how to apply the law.
So the goal is not to go beyond this month with any of the appeals. You want everything ironed out. I'm not talking about this month, I'm talking about in 27, right? 26, it's becomes effective for the 27 tax assessing.
So when we are come here next September to issue the tax rate, that will set a 6-month window for formal appeals to the select board.
Okay.
So that will run into April, May. The deadline will run till March, but then you've got a couple months over that. So appeals to the select board could run through April or May of 27. And the Board of Assessment Review, depending on how they choose to run it, sometimes they will try to handle cases as they come, but sometimes they'll let these cases build up, file extensions, and they'll do them all at once in late spring or summer. We kind of have to wait and see how the board feels about the caseload, what is the caseload, and whether or not taxpayers are willing to grant an extension. There's usually no harm in granting an extension. It just means it's going to take a little bit longer to get a decision.
Thank you.
That's all I had on the revaluation, but I'm happy to take questions if anybody has any questions about the status of the reval.
So the actual implementation, though, is September of 27.
September of 26.
Oh, it is 26, even though the appeals will be going on.
But you can't appeal it till you get it, so
Yeah.
they'll get it in 26. They have all that time to appeal that 26 decision,
Yeah.
that 26 assessment.
We will have likely in the August 26 timeframe, next August, after the tentative values have been released to the public, everyone receives what the estimated value is. We'll open up a period of informal hearings for a number of weeks where taxpayers can meet with KRT. So if there's things that need to get resolved prior to tax commitment, we can get as many things resolved before tax bills go out as we can, because once we issue the tax rate and we send out tax bills, that's when you're into that more formal process. So the hearings is a good time to pick up on issues where we've got data corrections that need to be made, the interior components weren't done properly. There's sometimes people have things about their land that they want us to know about. Maybe they have a wetland or they have some topography issues that they want to know if they've been accounted for. And we try to get as much of that done in the informal hearings as we can. But with a revaluation, you can still expect, a certain level of formal appeals beyond that.
That's the part I remember, the step before the taxes.
Yep.
Anything else before you move on?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I might as well stay right here.
Yeah.
I just want to move us to the next item.
Excuse me?
Just want to move us to consideration.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. All right, the reevaluation's complete. Now we're going to consider the tax rate and commitment. You're on.
Okay. So this year, I don't really bring welcomed news when it comes to the tax situation for the town. For several years, the town has had the ability to buy down the tax rate at commitment by using undesignated fund balance. So pretty much as long as I can remember, the fund balance situation has allowed for anywhere between $100,000 and $300,000 for use by the selectmen to reduce the tax rate. This year, we're finding that the fund balance situation is very close to what I believe is the town's policy regarding how much undesignated fund balance it wants to retain. The number that I've heard in the past is 15% of the prior year's tax commitment. And last year, our tax commitment was $18.7 million. So in order to stay in line with our own internal policy, we would want to be running a undesignated fund balance of about $2.8 million. And, you know, a lot of that is about continued operations if something happens, but we also have to remember that we have to make $1.2 million per month payments to the school district starting in July. And we don't collect taxes until the end of October. So a lot of money needs to get laid out from the town's funds to pay the school. In addition, we have the county tax, which is $1.1 million, which they want to see that in September as well. That's just a portion of the reason for the fund balance level. I know that there also, I've heard that it affects potentially our bond ratings and things like that. So the guidance that I've received from the town management and the finance department is that at the conclusion of FY24, the undesignated fund balance was $2.6 million. We don't have, to my knowledge, we don't have audit information for FY25, which just closed out June 30. But the guidance that I'm getting is that we're not expecting a significant add-on to that 2.6 from FY25. So where we would normally offer up tax rate options of $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 of fund balance, given the current situation, in consulting with the staff, we've made recommendations for no use of fund balance. And the first recommended tax rate is $18.80, which uses no fund balance and produces a tax overlay of $40,902. Last year it was $47,000. Typically the select board runs somewhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 range on a typical year. That overlay money is used to round the tax rate. It can be appropriated, but it has to be appropriated by the voters at town meeting if you're going to use it for something. So it typically, if we collect that money from the taxpayers, it typically goes into the fund balance and is pulled out later on for a purpose or to reduce taxes in a future year. Because the fund balance situation is being what it is, and with the increases, particularly on the school side, which was $1.5 million this year, that threshold for fund balance is just growing every year. You know, we're looking at a $20 million tax this year, so 15% is going to be $3 million next year. So the amount of money that we kind of want to carry is growing as taxes grow and our potential outlays grow, but we don't, we're not going to have a lot of growth from other revenues that we're projecting this year, excise revenue, state revenues, things like that. So because of this, instead of giving my normal scenario, which is the rates get smaller, in this particular year, I've given options where we're actually adding cents onto the tax rate if the board feels that it needs to add overlay to potentially affect the fund balance.
Kurt, on the overlay, I look back over the last 10 years on that.
Yeah.
This is the smallest amount I've seen. There's times where it was $100,000. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems to me we're going down on, instead of up. Is there a reason that, I mean, is that normal? I've seen
Well-
50, 80, and one was 100.
A lot of times it'll depend on how the numbers shake out, you know, because 10 cents on the rate is $110,000. And depending on where the values shake out, it can affect whether the overlay is at a certain amount or not, the baseline, you know, because,
Yeah, you can't be at 38. You
yeah,
don't want to be too low, and then
Yeah.
if you don't, it's just going to jump up.
right,
over 100.
right.
I was wondering if it was conservative, is what it was.
Well, typically, what happens is, as an assessor, we often will choose the lowest reasonable overlay to produce a rounded tax rate. But that being said, we typically, like in a scenario where if I were the assessor, I would consult with the board and consult with management as to what's coming up in the future, and are they comfortable with that overlay? And, you know, sometimes it's prudent to add money onto the overlay. You know, next year when we reval, if we decide to write a warrant article and fund tax abatements or reval defense out of the overlay, then we would need to compensate by increasing that amount. Sometimes the boards, if they think there's something coming down the road that could impact their fund balance, you know, they may decide to run a slightly higher overlay. Or if there's you can't use it now, but it's money that can be used later. So you kind of have to think about what might be happening, where
That's-
you're at.
That statement means you couldn't use it to do an overrun of a budget. You couldn't just say, there's $40,000 we can use to help balance out the overrun. It'd have to go into surplus, and then there'd have to be a request for it.
That's my understanding. Yeah, it's not appropriated. The only way overlay should be spent is if it's appropriated by the town meeting. So sometimes towns will fund certain things out of their overlay. Tax abatement sometimes is common. You could fund anything you want out of the overlay, as long as you write an article for it.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions? I think when you hear the staff and the assessor tell you that, there isn't a whole lot left for discussion, in my opinion. Go ahead, Cal.
I have a question, not necessarily for you, Kurt. Thank you very much for laying this out for us. Because of what was just said, and I guess I'll give this to you as the town manager. Should we be adding money to the overlay? So, in your opinion, and I'd like to hear what you, being the closest individual to this, would say. Is $40,900 enough in our overlay?
I would think with some of the possible situations that can come up in the future, I think when Kurt and I were discussing this and looking at the fund balance, I do think add more overlay is better for the town in the future. Obviously, right now, your impact, 1880 mill rate, that's definitely an increase from last year. So it's a balance. So yes, I think if you're looking at the financials, it's better to add more overlay. But it doesn't help. I think right now with the 1880, that's a good starting point.
Can I say this in another way?
Yeah.
Do you anticipate the need for us to need to utilize any more than $40,000?
Yes, I do. I think there could be there's a school building payment that could come up next year, or this year. So that would tap into undesignated fund balance. So we want to make sure that we have that money available for us, which we have $700,000 right now.
Joe, how soon would it be that we would know that about the school and the other payment?
Yeah,
Are we talking a few months or?
hopefully in a few months. Yes.
I think it's due in May, isn't it?
I believe May would be the,
Kayla?
I'm sorry, I just have another question, just
course.
for clarification. So as mentioned, this is the first time in a while that there have been no funds to use. So why would that occur?
what do you mean by no funds to use?
That it's recommended that we
Okay,
not
so every
use
year.
any, yes, so
Yeah.
every year for the past, as far as we can really see for a long time, there has been the possibility, or it's been recommended, or yes, you can use undesignated funds. This is the first time it's being recommended that we don't, because as I see it, that would put us at a financial risk. So why would that occur?
I would say because of the amount of increase from last year. It's going up $1.60. So that's also part of why when Kurt's run these numbers, we're not putting anything into the fund balance as well for next year. So if we do have to make that school payment, that would bring our undesignated fund balance down from 2.6 to 2.3. So we're not filling that fund balance in a comfortable manner. You can run it. You can use 700,000, but that would put us at 1.9 million.
Changes our bond too.
No,
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm asking, why is it just a cumulative over time of using undesignated fund balances that, because, what I'm asking is, if it's been okay to use it before,
Yeah.
and now it's not okay to use it, I understand that we need to make the school payment, but is it because it's been utilized too frequently in the past? I guess what I'm trying to get
Yeah.
at is other select board,
Sure.
when it comes time to do this, have been able to say, well, let's knock this down
Right.
by 20, last year, well, that would have been 30 cents.
Sure.
So is that because it's been used frequently, or I'm
It could be,
I would
but
like to-
I think it's more the amount of fund balance that we have currently and hitting that benchmark of 15% with the total valuation of monies. So I think if you're dipping into it to lower the mill rate, you might be handcuffing yourself for the future of other expenses coming up.
Thank you.
And for
We don't-
years, it was 100,000, sorry. For years, it was $100,000, and then it
It would
went
do.
to 200,000. And last year, we thought there was all kinds of money. And so even with hesitation, I said, in fact, I said, I prefer 200,000, but there was a real push to go 400 or 500. And we did go to 300, which is the largest amount we put on
Yeah.
the really taken out of surplus.
Right.
And I think had we known it was going to be tight, we wouldn't have done that any more than we would have voted through the budget the way we did. Because in this budget, there was $300,000 of surplus used to bring the tax down to a 4.5%. And so without having that $300,000, it changed everything. And I think it would have changed the budget committee and the select board. But that's behind us. And what I say is, when staff comes in and Kurt comes in and they say, we really shouldn't do it, no one wants to see the taxes go up. I don't want to see it any more than anyone else. But this doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of flexibility, and I think we could, ponder this forever. But the reality is we've overused surplus in all kinds of ways.
I think it's just less effective is kind of, Kurt, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's just less effective to use $100,000 of an undesignated fund balance on this amount of mill rate to lower it.
Yeah, and even
Kind of
if we
how
were-
I'm
I did the
understanding.
math. Even if we paid down our whole budget, and took it out of surplus, plus a little off the school, when it really gets said and done, I think on a $500,000 house,
Yeah.
after I got this, it would be $200 or less. And it put us in jeopardy. So I don't want to put us in jeopardy. I really am not interested in being the first board that starts to mess with the surplus to the point where we're at risk.
It's 800.
What's that?
$800 increase for 1880 for a $500,000 house.
When they were talking about the $700,000 offset. When you looked at the top, when it said if we use the whole $700,000 on the top, when you really do the math, it's not worth peeling that surplus down to nothing. So I'm all in favor of supporting what the staff's recommending, and they're the ones that are reading the budget all the regular, and Kurt, who's the expert.
I think we have to be careful as a board also of spending in the future. I mean,
Oh,
because
yeah.
we have this school coming up, we have a payment that we can't deny towards the new school. And then these taxes are gonna increase until the point where people are going to leave the town, and then you're gonna have tax
Right.
problems.
I agree.
Because there'll be vacant homes and things like that. So you have to be really careful on not only just going up on this. I'm leaning towards the 1880, but that's it's not a huge difference either way. But it really is not this problem right here today. It's a future problem where we have to really rein this in and figure it out.
Can I take that a
Can't
little
just-
bit further, though?
Can't just print money and.
If we did use a couple $100,000, and next year we needed it,
I'm not saying on that. I'm not talking about using.
no, I'm just saying, if we were to do that, to try to lower it down, it might make it even worse next year. So
Yeah,
I agree with you, no one wants to go ahead, Chris.
I'm in agreement to probably leave it alone and don't add any, and use the 1880. But how he started his conversation was we have to keep an eye on spending.
Yes.
In my eyes, I think we spent a lot of legal expenditures last year that,
We're doing it
We-
this year too. Yeah.
and we didn't have to do that before. We've got other, like you brought up the school coming up. We may be bonding a public works garage in the future. This town is gonna have to spend some money. And I think I brought this up, and this probably isn't the night to discuss it, but this is why I brought up impact fees a while back. And that is a way to raise revenue without it being a continuing tax. It's a one-time fee. So I think that needs to be revisited, and we can start saving for the future, which we should have been doing all along, so that these bond payments and other projects that that just kind of got kicked down the road, they're coming due, and we're gonna have to do them. And if we had had impact fees to address this, say, 5 years ago, we'd have some money saved up. So I think leaving the numbers the way they are, I'm in agreement with you, Dennis. I think it ought to just stay the way it is. I don't want to see this turn into a problem in the future for us. We've got to watch it very carefully.
I think it's well said.
I think it is.
Kayla?
I think-
Kayla?
Well, I think this is proof that the bill comes due at some point.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, we've been using funds to decrease the tax levy, but that has a result and an impact.
The citizens voted for both the school budget and the company, I guess, is part of it. So listening to the advice of the professionals and the staff that we've hired, I would happen to agree with Chris. And if we're going to have a budget that has money left over, that's going to go to surplus. So we can also rein in the spending even this year by capping things and by doing freezes like they do in other municipalities. Something we can discuss at a later date. Not something I wanted to bring up tonight. We've got our hands full.
Right.
I think I'm ready to entertain a motion to go with what's recommended by Kurt and our staff.
Which one? There's
Which
two.
one?
Well, no.
you don't need the first
Yeah.
motion. That's only if you were going to use some fund
So
balance.
it's number two.
I don't want to increase this anymore, but I did ask Joe, our town manager, whether the 40,000 was going to be enough in his opinion, and he expressed some concern that may not be enough for overlay. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm really not interested in raising the mill rate by $1.70, much less $1.60.
Can we do that at this meeting? I mean, I'm just
No,
asking
these
for
are our
clarification.
options. Like, if you're looking at our options,
Yes.
what we can do.
We're setting the
So
rate.
each time we increase the overlay. And that was the first question I
Right.
asked you, was that, in his opinion, was the 40,000 going to be enough?
Yeah, because one of the things to think about is if you have a potential scenario where you have to have a special town meeting and draw, say, $300,000 out of fund balance to pay this school payment, I don't know how much the amount is, that's going to further deplete
Oh, yeah.
what you got. So,
Yes.
So,
So it's like you said, you've got belt tightening within the current budget. You've got, hopefully revenues come in higher, non-tax revenues hopefully come in higher than we've estimated. There's a lot of things that could happen, but that's a a big bite out of the fund balance, right? If the payment is going to be made in this fiscal year, but it's not part of the budget, then you're gonna have to have a town meeting to pull that money.
Then I would ask this for clarification. If we increase it, it is treated as though it's surplus, not to go into the budget, but would be there in case we get into a bind, so it's not gonna have an impact.
Yeah, what's gonna happen is this
No,
is
you're-
gonna be has the potential to be a cascading problem. So
Yeah.
if I come next year and your fund balance policy wants you at 3 million and you're only at 2.2, you're getting further away all the time.
Right.
So that's to
You know,
Kayla's point
Right.
So
about.
why,
yeah.
and I'm sorry.
Let
If I-
Derek go first.
No, go ahead. I didn't,
I thought you started to say something.
no,
Uh,
agreeing with that.
You're mentioning a school payment that we didn't have in our budget.
Yeah.
Why, did we just find out about this?
It was mentioned by the superintendent when I got here after the warrant article, so June. So,
But they were
I brought it up during budget finance.
and then,
multiple times.
yeah, so it was, I think, discussed. I don't know if it was at a school board meeting or not, but
I'm sorry, so you're saying it was discussed at
Budget finance.
budget
board meeting.
finance board meetings?
It wasn't, I brought it up to both chairs and it didn't go much further than that, but I said, don't forget, we have this.
And that was
coming up.
prior to June? I'm just
Budget
trying
finance,
to get,
or the last budget finance meetings, so yeah.
okay,
It
thank
was
you.
way, it was in
Chris,
No, I'm good.
March, wasn't it?
can you imagine if we had put $300,000 in this budget on top? This whole budget process would have been different, but that said, I think what we're hearing from staff, and even Kayla's concerned that we probably should increase that to protect us, I guess, give us a cushion. Kurt, I want to turn to you with this one. I mean, if you had your druthers, what would that number have been instead of squeezing it down to the minimum amount?
Oh, I mean,
Oh, okay, maybe a bad question.
well,
I guess it goes back to your
this is where
goals,
it's
right?
tricky.
You-
This is where it gets tricky.
Go ahead and finish.
I mean, if you're the assessor, which in this case, this is how this is the action you're taking as the assessor. You always shy away from adding on to the tax in a way that the voters haven't approved. But we know things right now that we didn't know at the time. And you know, you just have to weigh out, is it more harmful to not do it in the long term and run the risk of further depleting the fund balance? Is that more, yeah, that could be more costly and harmful to the resident than a 10-cent rate increase. You know, so you just got to weigh it out. I mean, it's not going to get spent automatically.
Only if necessary.
It'd have to be pulled out of, it will go into, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, this will go into fund balance eventually. If we pull fund balance, we'll pull it out of what we got, and as money is brought in, it'll filter into fund balance, yeah, eventually.
York?
Two things, I mean, it's a big jump, so it's going from 17.2 to, if you guys are talking, you want to do 18.9, 19. There is a point where it goes so high that it impacts the people of the town that don't pay their taxes and don't continue to live in their houses. I mean, there's a certain point where you can go 10 cents and stuff is a little jump, but this is already a large jump. They know it's coming. I mean, it's people voted on school and things like that. So they know a little bit is there, but we just have to, if we keep raising this, then it looks like on paper we have all this money. I mean, we're collecting it. We're raising people's taxes and we're bringing it in. But that doesn't mean we can't just keep spending it. We can't just keep increasing budgets, and you know what I mean? There has to be at some point we need to rein this in to be able to keep our mill rate at a normal level.
We're not asking for $1.5 million. The school is driving this increase, and we're the tail wagging the dog. And we all supported the school, well, I voted for it anyway. We all supported the school, so when you're talking $1.5 million 1 year, That's driving this whole tax rate. We're just talking a
wait.
small amount.
What do you mean 1.5 million? What do you-
So what we're saying is, okay, so I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that okay? So we have zero control over a majority of this budget as a select board. So the school budget increased. If you look at last year's, the FY '24 to '25, we're looking at roughly $1.5 million increase. Now, we collectively, voters in Wyndham and Raymond approved that budget. But we didn't, but we still have to account for that in our mill rate.
We also have, which
then
is
we
not
have-
in that 1.5 million, 300,000
Correct.
in May.
So, and then we increased our budget by about $500,000. To me, that's what we're accountable for.
Oh,
That's
100%.
our portion
That's what I'm
of
talking
the
about.
mill rate.
Right.
So, comparatively, so I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying collectively, this large
That's what I-
jump
Yeah.
can be largely attributed to the school budget.
100%. That's why I said we already have this large jump that we have no control over. We have control over the next ones up, but these people already are getting a huge jump. So I'm just reiterating the point where you can only keep jumping so high, whether they vote for it or not. I don't think that they vote for something and then calculate out exactly how much it's going to go. I can tell you 99% of the population will vote without calculating out how much it's going to increase their taxes, because they don't know down to the penny, but I bet a majority of them don't even guesstimate how much it's going to.
Derek, everyone here is in agreement. I'm saying that I wouldn't even voted for the town budget. I wouldn't have put an extra $100,000 in two different budgets, appropriation budgets. That's $200,000 I voted for. I wouldn't have if I'd have known it was going to be 12%. So we can freeze things, we can move forward another way to save money, but the reality is we're not driving this tax increase. Ours is a minor amount, and every year I hear about the town has to cut because the school, or the town has to cut because of this. And at some stage, we deserve to have staff to get benefits in open spaces. And by the way, the school's coming online, so there'll be some belt tightening pretty quickly. And I absolutely agree with you. There'll be at some stage, I was a chief with 3 years of flat budgeting.
Yeah.
We're headed that way, so, but if we're not gonna do something on that overlay, I guess I was looking for whether we add to it or not, but at the same time, if we have to come up with $300,000, we're gonna have to come back to a special town meeting to ask for that money to come out of surplus anyway in May.
That's right.
So,
Potentially, I guess the best case scenario, right, Joe, would be that we can squeeze it into the FY
Correct. Yes.
7
yes.
that'd be
budget cycle, but
That's
I don't know.
something I can maybe discuss, but
well, let me ask you this. Let's say we do well with the tax collection, because when I did the budget, I looked at it, and we were going to have $800,000 in revenue predicted, but 300 of it was actually used in the surplus. So that right away was an assumption we had doing the budget process, if you remember.
Yeah.
That we had revenues and it was listed.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
why your number looks so high, $500,000 on the tax. It's not that your budget went up that much, it's that you got 300,000
Already figured in.
taken away
Yeah.
that was there last year, so if,
Right.
it's, your gross budget didn't go up astronomically, but you have, that 300 is not available, and so otherwise it would have been 200,000.
I have a hunch that won't happen again in the budget process. Now that we know that the surplus is not there, there will be no talk about using it to do the budget before we get to the point where we can use the budget surplus. So, we've learned. This is a big learning
Yeah.
lesson, and we are trying to move forward. Kind of hard to sit up here and not, none of us want to have tax increase. I'd love to have seen this at 3%, let alone 12, or at $18, but we have to make a decision on which way we want to go on the use. And so I would look for a motion in some degree. I'm feeling like I don't want to increase the $40,000 from maybe revenues come in that's higher than usual and we have a little bit more surplus to draw from. I don't know, but
Well,
I'm a half full guy, 3/4 full.
I don't know, do you want to try to look in your crystal ball on, I mean, we make, every year when we do, when the finance does the warrant article for the town meeting that gives an estimate of non-tax revenues, they're coming up with, what do we think we're gonna get in excise tax? That's the big one. That's like 1.2, 1.3 million. What do we think we're gonna get for, fees? What do we think we're gonna, so typically those are reasonably conservative. The last thing you wanna do is come up short in those areas and not have enough to pay your bills. But, I mean, where do you think?
Well, I think her collection rate is phenomenal. So, I mean, there is a strong chance that you may.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Do you want me to announce who I am?
Oh, yes.
I'm Brenda, the finance director. Sue has a phenomenal collection rate, so there is a really strong possibility that you guys pull ahead, even on some of the liens and that sort of thing. I think that the rate that Kurt has presented with the extra 40 is probably good. That's my opinion. I wish I had more time here, like years and so on, to see historically what's happened, but based upon what I see going on now, the revenues have been pretty healthy. I don't see, I think it's very, for the extra, I think I'm listening to what Derek is saying, and I kind of agree a little bit with that. I know you're trying to restockpile your surplus, which makes good sense, but there may be some other ways to do it, and we can talk about that maybe at another meeting, because I do have a couple of ideas. But you need to prepare for these other expenses that may come down to with the school renovations and some of the other things going on with the public works. I'm thinking bonds, and so I think going with Kurt's first number is good right now. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Joe, town manager. Which one would you like to see? You're the one that's going to be responsible.
Can I flip a
for
coin?
everything else.
I think I agree with Kurt and Brenda. I think 1880 is going to be a good spot. Now that we know this is on our radar, we can start looking at when revenues come in, how that gets restocked at the end of the fiscal year, and then hopefully come back during the budget season with better news on that fund balance surplus. So,
Any more questions for Kurt, the town manager? If not, does anyone? I kind of like going with what the town manager said.
I'm ready to make a motion,
All right.
Chair, if that's
Thank
okay
you.
with you. I move the Board of Selectmen, who are also the assessors, to approve the FY 2025 to 2026 property tax commitment, certification and warrants for the collection at a rate of $18.80 per $1,000 on a taxable valuation of $1,106,468,900.
Second.
Any more discussion before we call for the vote? Discussion. Yeah? Yeah? No, that's, I was just on a roll, Peter.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. So I just want to say that I heard Kayla, I heard Chris, I heard Dennis. As far as I'll give you a little history, Brenda. The history is that for the last 10 years, and I've been in this town for 30, the main objective and the use of the unfunded balance, the undesignated fund balance, was basically, in my opinion, to artificially lower the tax rate because there was not good management in budgeting. That's just a little history. So that's my sense. Is it a surprise that we have a new board in a new generation here that's basically saying, the bottom line is taxes are going to have to go up. And that's a reality. Nobody wants higher taxes, let alone me. I don't want them either. But what I did hear from some board members, and I think that's important, and also I heard from the finance director, it's been talked about before at previous select board meetings. We got to look at other ways to generate revenue in this town. We have to be able to tighten our belt as far as spending is concerned, and we have to do a combination of those things. $1.1 million goes to the county, so let's develop another TIF zone, where what we do is the valuation that's going to go up in another year or so doesn't hit our county tax, because we'd be basically insulated from that. It's not going to really do anything for this mill rate, but it's those type of things. As Derek was mentioning, nobody likes to increase taxes. But the bottom line is, if you look at the valuation of this town and what you pay for taxes, and whether there's going to be a mass exodus out of the town because the mill rate went up, not necessarily. Not when you look at where the people are coming from to vacation here, which, as we understand, is the number one revenue source for this town. It's the lakes, it's the quality of the lakes, and it's people that come from away that pay the highest real estate taxes in the town and use minimal services for a couple of weeks a year. And that's our golden goose. And we've all enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I'd hate to see it go away. But the bottom line and the reality is, you don't own this. This was created before you. And I'm just hopeful that what's going to happen is that we're not going to slide back into that. And by the way, as far as fund balance is concerned and bond ratings and everything, once again, we're not talking about statute. We're talking about recommended dollars. So would it be the end of the world if we just had an A rating? Just think of that. What does that mean as far as how much of an undesignated fund balance we need to have? And we have an A. And by the way, I'm not necessarily in agreement that what we got to do is bond everything. I think when we had copious amounts of dollars in our undesignated fund balance, rather than bonding a fire truck, we could have bought one. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Peter. Any other comments? Brian?
Brian Walker, Rolfe Road. There's a lot of things that are happening at the same time. We're going through a revaluation. There will likely be, because the grand list will go up, there will be a mill rate drop. So that's an interesting time. Many times when that happens, I've seen people feel like they can now feast, because mentally people go, oh, it's at 1880, and now it's only 14. I'm making the numbers up. And therefore, boards and towns and cities go, yeah, it went down that much. You know, we could actually make it about 16 and put a lot more into our budgets. I raise that point because I think it's important to remember that is going to be happening. And so therefore, I'm going to urge Raymond to continue to be conservative in its spending, which I think it always has been, and not be lured into that potential of raising a lot of money. I come from a marketing and public relations background. I would suggest that if our town manager is saying that there could be some unseen things, I would suggest maybe thinking about bringing it up a dime. And why do I say that? Two reasons. The difference between 1880 and 1890 is not going to be big. 19 is a big number change, right? It just went up. It clocked up another one. So from a PR standpoint, 1880 to 1890 is not that dramatic. More importantly, if you have to call a special town meeting to then raise funds, I think that will be a place where there will be a lot of pushback, because it would appear then that the town isn't planning appropriately for its needs. And we have some variables that are coming up. So those are my thoughts on that. Last thing is, I think it's critical, and I think it's great that the new website is getting revised and the like, to use our capabilities, the website, the paper and the like, to communicate the reasons for the increase. And to remind people, very, very importantly, it's already been said tonight, that the town controls 21% of the overall budget that people have to shell out money for. 71% of it goes to the schools. I can do the math, I have it somewhere, of what the remaining part is with the TIF and the like. But the school budget is 3 times the size of the town budget. Wyndham voted against the town budget this year. The reason it passed was because the people in Raymond voted for it.
Yeah, the school budget.
School
Right.
budget. I'm talking about the school budget. So maybe it's time to also look at some of the other places where the money is being taken from the taxpayers, if you will. I'm all for taxes, by the way. I think taxes are really important. It drives me crazy when people say they shouldn't pay taxes. I say, well, how'd you get here tonight? You went on a road. That road gets provided to you by the increment, the amount of taxes. So that's just one example. If you flew somewhere, you're using the FAA. We have a Defense Department in this country that protects us. There's all kinds of reasons to pay taxes. I don't like paying more taxes than I would, but I would suggest to even think one about maybe going up one notch so that you have the money that you need to not create fervor where there's no need for it. And I think a town meeting would be that. And secondly, communicate what's going on in a way to help educate the members of this town as to what's going on. Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else in public? I'd like to add one thing, we've asked for several budgetary information, including the TIF, because, you know, I learned from talking to Kurt, I've asked him more questions, I have the town manager probably at this stage, about expanding the TIF so that we can control how much of our town evaluation, which is what's drive, correct me if I'm wrong, Kurt, but drives partly the school amount that we pay. And so if we get more of the TIF expanded, and I guess it's 27 from what I heard. I've heard 2030, but anyway, it's coming right up. And so if we expand the TIF, we control that tax money to be used in that area of the town. And I think it would be very, very important to look at that. So we're looking at everything we can do to save some money moving forward, and I think we're very proactive as far as this committee goes. And I just wanted to say that before we take a vote and ask if there's any reconsideration after the second on moving up the dime before we do it. Hearing none. All those in favor of the 1880? That was a tough one to go through.
So tomorrow morning, after I meet with the KRT, I'll get the warrants done, and we'll put an email out tomorrow, probably after lunchtime, and at that point, members of the board can come into the town office and sign the warrants.
At the back door?
Yep, and then we'll get them to Sue Carr for collection. Just one comment on the TIFs. The thing about the TIF district is, once it expires, it's 30-year TIF, that's the maximum. Once that district expires, you'll have to start a new one. So you can't,
And how long does that process take?
starting a new TIF, it takes 6 months to a year. You know, you'd have,
Right.
would have Bernstein Shore, you'd have to develop a program. But the real thing is, you're gonna, when you complete the TIF and you start a new one, you're gonna start with a new original assessed value on the new district. And your increment, which is your shelter, for the first few years is not, you know,
Are you implying that we can expand it without it expiring? Okay.
No, I
was
don't
wondering if you thought there was a creative way to enlarge.
No, I
it.
mean, because there's so little time left. If you were going to expand the current, let's say the current TIF expires in 2028 or 2029. I can't remember what date it expires. If you expand the boundaries of that TIF
It only goes to that.
further down 302, the OAV for those parcels you include in the TIF is going to be 2024, 25 values. They're not going to be 1999 values like the original district. So you might get a little capture with the reval. You'd have to do it. You'd have to get it to DCD for approval before March, I'm guessing, in order to.
You're talking about this March coming?
You want to get the OAV, if you're entertaining before March of 27,
Okay.
I think. Because any new TIF district, you're going to want an OAV that's pre-reval numbers. There's no reason to start a TIF with brand new 100% value because you won't get any capture for a long time. You know, you want your
That's what I'm saying.
you
If
want
it's a
your
year
lo-
that's-
you
we
want
need
your
to do it.
OAV to be pre-reval numbers. But then again, what you also have to ask yourself is, the thing about TIFs is you get the tax shelter benefit, but it's an expense, and it's a limited expense. You have to use it for economic development purposes. So you have to have a reason to have that. If you're not an economic development town and you don't have anything to expend the money on, then capturing that as a $300,000 expense,
My theory is we have a really good comp plan that zeroes in on some of that
Yeah.
area and that growth.
Yeah.
And if we expanded that, we need to do it now because it takes 9 months to a year. We
Yeah.
talked about it last year.
Yep.
Haven't really got any more traction than we had last year.
Yeah.
But if we wait 2 years, it's pointless because
yes.
it's not pointless, but the points are a lot less.
That's right. So yeah, the things to remember are you get a lot of benefit from the tax. You get benefit from the tax shelter. Raymond's benefit is limited because Raymond already gets zero state aid for the school.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like you get 10 million and it's going to go to 13. You get zero now. Your benefit is for tax shelter is going to be primarily county, when they allocate it, and you will get some benefit on the school allocation tax formula. But state aid, you might get a little extra revenue sharing, but you're not going to get a lot of state aid on education because our valuation is so high.
It's our golden goose, though. It's our golden goose.
Yeah. So anyway, it's certainly, I would say, very worthwhile investigating whether or not a TIF district works, a new TIF district works for Raymond. And, there's current TIF funds. And if there's money in the current TIF fund, we want to try to land this TIF at $0 because we don't want any clawback from the state of Maine on any revenue sharing that they've already done. But the town could use TIF dollars if we have it to hire a consultant to, if the town can't get it self-organized to do it on its own, you can hire a consultant, probably with TIF money that's for economic development, to do some analysis and come back to you as to what's a good idea to spend the money on, is it feasible?
It's exactly why we requested the date, so
Yeah.
that we know, and if we need to get started, I'm just all in favor, but at a later date, maybe in the next
Yeah,
month.
I mean, it's
You're
pretty
gonna be
expensive.
buried
It's
for a while.
$25,000-$30,000 in legal fees from Bernstein Shore to create a district. So it's not without cost, but it's,
Yeah, but over a 30-year period.
Yep.
And we could take it out of TIF, couldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So we take the TIF money if it's there, and we hire the lawyer to do the
Yeah,
work.
it just I know a lot of the current TIF money was earmarked for the fiber, so we just have to do some analysis to see how much is there. Yeah. Oh, that's all I had.
Well, I'm just bringing it up because I think we started the process of trying to find a way to capture
wait,
some
Kurt.
of the tax money.
I have
Derek?
another small TIF question then. If you take it out of TIF that it's currently in though, and you expand TIF to a different area, you're saying you still can use those funds? Because you're changing the,
Say that one.
so you have TIF funds right now, but it's specified for an area. There's a certain area that your TIF spot is in. If you are creating a new TIF area, which is in a different spot, can you take those funds to create it even though you're doing that next project in a different area? It's not technically in that same area.
I wouldn't call myself a TIF expert, but
Oh, you're the TIF expert in this room.
there's typically three levels of TIF expenditures. There's direct expenses in the district itself.
Yeah.
There's indirect expenses directly related to the TIF, but outside the district.
Okay.
And then there are general economic development costs, like one of my towns, we fund the economic developers position from TIF districts.
Okay.
So there's typically three layers. Your town attorney, Phil Saucier, took over for Shauna in the TIF department. He can tell you very clearly what you can spend that money on.
Well, thank you. And I
Perfect.
know we'll put it on the agenda just from tonight's conversation because we've got the dates. I heard from one person it was 2030 and one 2027. So either way, we've got to move on it.
And just correct me if I'm wrong, but the part of the fiber project was outside of the TIF area. We petitioned the state to be able to use that money, and the state agreed. So generally, if you're using monies that are going to spur an economic development or improve the community, it's tough for the state to say no, especially if it's not costing them anything. They have the money already. So I believe you can petition the state to spend the monies outside of the TIF area. That's just one of the rules.
All right, thank you.
Certain expenses.
Yeah, we'll find out more detail, but we're going to move on. The discussion for possible new water line to Viola Ave and the pipeline.
I'm not sure if I want to get up here and talk about this. We were scheduled to do some paving on Viola and Viola's Pine and Elizabeth this year.
Yeah.
And we ran into a few problems. There's a development going in at the end of Viola for the solar farm, and we were going to tie into that drainage, the storm drainage. So we're kind of in a holding pattern. And in the meantime, I got a couple of calls from 2 residents down there asking about a water line. And I'm just here to ask if you want me to dig into that or...
What role would we have, Nate?
Well, we would have to implement it. We would have to do the engineering and pay for it, and then
For a developer?
for our development. By the 2 people, one was on Elizabeth and one was on Viola. This would be for the Raymond development.
Is this
My
Viola Lane?
stormwater drain is the problem. I was tying into the project in the Wyndham solar farm. That's still going forward, but it's kind of in a holding pattern right now. But that put me into a holding pattern because I didn't have anywhere else to put our stormwater. So we're waiting for that project to start so we can do ours. We're going to postpone the paving for a year. But in the process of that, I got 2 people down there that called and asked about expanding the water line down there for that development. I just asking if there's any interest in it. Do you want me to?
Town funded?
Oh yeah, that's all town funded. It's going to be around $1 million, $1.5 million.
Yeah. Not today, it isn't.
Yeah, that's kind of what I kind of guessed, but I at least owed it to the people to come up and ask.
So, goes on your economic impact fees, but why, wouldn't it be the developers?
This isn't a development. This has got.
You're saying there is a development going in and they're the ones asking?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
I maybe gave too much information. We were going to pave that development this year. And I put it on hold because of the development in Wyndham.
Yep.
Because my stormwater drains into that development, into that project, the solar project.
Okay.
In the meantime of putting
Which is in Wyndham.
That is all in Wyndham.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
correct. In the meantime of putting this on hold, I got a couple of calls from people in our town that one lives on Viola and one lives.
Oh, because you're
lives
putting the
in Elizabeth.
pavement on hold, so they want to try to
Pavement
get it.
on
Gotcha.
hold. They
All
said,
right.
"What about doing the water line?" And I don't obviously.
That makes way more sense.
Yeah, this is all our people.
How many residents would it serve?
Oh, there's got to be, off the top of my head, Kayla, I don't know how many houses are down.
It's Pine and Viola.
Pine,
It would get all of those.
Viola, yeah. It's-
20, I would say. if I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
20, 25.
Yeah.
I would say that too.
It's that big.
Yeah.
I don't think we have $1 million. It'd have to go to bond and have to
Oh,
come
yeah.
up in a budget process, and I'm not so sure.
So
it's-
that's about an
To serve
investment of
25
60,000
residents.
per resident,
Yes, if I didn't do
or
the
per,
math on that.
per property.
And the numbers I've got, I went online and looked up at a couple of awarded bids on water lines in the general area, and I came up with anywhere from $300 a foot to over $600 a foot, depending on what
16.
you put in it and what's involved. There's a lot to it. It's not just.
So right now it goes down Roosevelt
Correct.
in front of Beacon, Circle K, Salvation Army, all that.
Goes all the way
So
down.
it would loop if we were to try to do it down like Elizabeth, go Pine, Viola, and then back out.
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead, Caleb.
I have another question. This would only serve residents and not business-related activity?
It could serve businesses. I don't know what the shopping center, if they're on the water line or not. I think they are. And that's the only business on that side is that shopping center strip. I think.
Well, no, from there, there's Circle K, Post Office, Beacon, Salvation Army, and Crickett's Corner.
The water line runs right by them.
Yeah,
right in the
one
front of 'em.
Yeah, it goes right down through.
Yeah,
And
so
I'm
they would
pretty
tie
sure
it-
They would tie in
it.
that front
Yeah.
side anyway. They wouldn't tie
Yeah.
in this back side.
It's nice for you to bring it forward to accommodate the citizens, and it's not the right night to probably
No,
bring
no,
it up.
I sitting here, I kind of got that, and I had to ask, because, like I said, we're going to put the project on hold until next year, and if we were going to do this, now's the time to start doing it. If we're not, then,
I think this would fall into the category I mentioned earlier personally, where you have public and private funds to develop something or to move infrastructure forward. And if there's no skin in the game, you're talking 16 houses, that's a lot of money, as you said.
Yes.
So,
It would definitely be a want, not a need.
right.
Is there a potential for grant funds that could cover something like this?
did a little digging into grants. Have you ever dealt with Portland Water District? That's a huge hurdle. I didn't hear back from two of the companies or two of the venues that I called on. One called me back and said, no, there's nothing that they were interested, or there was no grant money for that. If there was a problem down there, if they had bad water, then yes, there's all kinds of help for that.
Thank you.
The other thing, I mean, with public water, it would help development of that certain area and things like that, of other new stuff coming in, but this is already,
Develop.
it's already developed, it's already done, and most of these people already have wells, so it's
Right.
kind of redundant. Some people are gonna wanna tap in, and some people are gonna say, I don't really care, like,
That is correct.
I like my drilled well water over public water anyway, so.
I just felt it was, the due process was to come and ask.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
The next thing on the agenda is the wrap-up of the closeout of the 23-24 budget that was started in August. Is this for our own information, this thing you gave us? This printout
Yeah,
that came
yeah,
to it?
yeah. Those are your questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the initial report of the 23-24 budget for the fiscal year.
And the questions, there was a couple questions I had asked you to see if you could find, and that was the public meeting, when the board voted publicly. And I went through the minutes, the written minutes, and I can't find that it was a public meeting. But, this is 2 years old, and 24-25 might be 2 years old. And in an effort to move forward, I think that what we have to look at is an understanding that, from what I get from the lawyers and from what I understand from reading a lot of the state laws, is that whether it was inappropriate used and whether there were other concerns like the surplus, the information you gave us, the TRIO printout, showed that the surplus was moved into revenues. And then I heard how much we had in over revenues was $300,000 over.
It wasn't moved to revenues. It was
The
a journal
budget.
entry.
Yeah, it was a journal entry in the
Right, it was
budget.
moved out. right?
In
So
June
it was
1st.
inputted wrong the first time, and then it was moved,
First couple
to-
times.
yeah, as a journal
Actually,
entry.
6 moves, but the last one still said revenues. It didn't move somewhere else. That's why I asked for the copy of it. But the
Yeah,
point
we
is,
go on the
anyway,
revenues.
here's what's important. It had nothing to do with this town manager. It had nothing to do with this board. There was probably why we didn't have a lot of surpluses. 250,000 was used in 23, 24 to pay off the overrun. And the details of how it happened is probably insignificant, except that we learned from it, that you can't just move surplus without a public town meeting. And that plus the 300 we used last year.
I don't think it did.
We didn't move.
Nothing got moved.
No, it was just accounting. It wasn't movement.
The funds don't get moved, the
No.
accounting gets moved.
The way it looked and what I heard is they used $250,000 in surplus to pay off the amount. And I asked the question twice. And so if we use $250,000 from surplus to pay for the overrun of the budget, which was in 3 different
No.
accounts majorly, and you could say you use the revenues.
No, sorry, Dennis, it's not used to pay off. It falls to fund balance, and that's allocated within that budget.
Did you use surplus money to round up the budget that ran over? And the answer was yes.
The way you're, I think, saying it is, it sounds like you're moving it. When it's voted on the warrant article, the $75,000, it is, again, I think there's a foundational issue here, which I can talk to you. I talked to Brenda as well, and she agrees. That gets put into our admin budget, that warrant article, if it's not voted on to lower just like what we did with the commitment, to lower the mill rate. So when that is put into that, the general fund, it will automatically, without anybody touching it, so it's just accounted for there. When the auditors go through and we're balancing the budget, that amount of money, technically, yes, offsets any of those extra expenses.
So how
So
much
it's-
more than the budget that the public voted for was used? Because we didn't vote.
163,000, I believe, that year. But we also brought in 200.
Right, but again, you probably saw the answers from Phil.
Yep.
And it says we can't just use revenues because they run over. It has to still go back to the public even to use those revenues.
It does.
Right, that's how we do it.
Yeah, so it didn't go back to the public though. And listen, just to make this short and sweet, it's,
It did.
one of the reasons the surplus is down is because the budget ran over. Is
Not
not
that
how it
fiscal
happens?
year. Yeah, not that fiscal year, though, because we've had other additional revenues in there. It's really hard to take one particular portion and apply it to the whole budget. So you're not wrong, but you're also it's not a one-in-one that money directly offsets any of those expenses.
But it
does
wasn't moved
the-
in. That journal entry that we had in the trio said 175,000 from undesignated funds moved over to the budget June 1st, 2024.
I think Brenda can, yeah, it's not moved, it's
It's utilized.
it's accounted for.
So you have a report that shows just the journal. This is a snapshot of the whole account. And this is the note that was made at that time. I just wanted to bring that so you could see it.
Yeah, that was a description.
So that's the
This
page
isn't
one?
the actual journal, though, is it? The printout, because usually there's initials from anyone who entered in.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because this shows,
9/16/25,
yes,
periods 7 through 6.
but it has the notation on here.
Yeah.
Right.
It was per the auditor, that it was done back
You
then.
have that?
Isn't with Trio, when someone makes a journal entry, isn't it normally initialed?
No, I got my whole box.
So I
This is my
did
box.
reach out to them
Should have been.
today, actually, and I asked them if they could give me a report that shows all
got all
of
this.
the.
Oh, you can't pull it up on Trio
I
yourself?
cannot.
You literally,
I can't go in and say who did this,
I understand.
oh, that's
but
interesting.
they can. So I did actually reach out, I put a ticket in today, because there's been so much discussion on it. if they could please give me like a historical report showing that information, because I can't go in, there's nothing I can go and pick that will give me that data.
I thought you literally could print out the page of the journal that you have.
It doesn't tell me though.
Yeah, you can see that, you could see everything, so it's accounted for every journal entry. And that's why I'm trying not to say movement, because it's not, it's kind of, it's not the funds that are moving, but it's the accountant of that monies. So that 175 was probably at one point maybe not in the right account.
It's
and
like
then,
giving it a name. It's
right,
not really moving numbers.
and then that 175 is what shows up on the audit in undesignated surplus that is used, because it has to show where it is being expensed out of.
Well, why I said let's move forward is it was spent. It doesn't do any good to go backwards now and say, you know, ask the public one way or the other to vote on it, because we can't say no. And so therefore it's a done deal. I think what my point of the whole discussion was is the public should have known sooner, I guess, because like the $300,000 we spent on the budget, I wouldn't have voted that way. If I'd have known that the surplus was so low, I would have never voted for a budget based on $300,000 of surplus, and I'm using surplus because it's easier to say, then, you know, there was an assumption. And so, that said, I think that I would like to, if we have to do something, whatever it is, that the public always knows. I mean, there's a definite law that says you can't spend any funds not appropriated at a town meeting or by the public, except for the $75,000 the select board, which can use for, and you can use it for the tax. I'm not saying we couldn't have used it for the tax rate.
You could have voted on that.
But after the tax rate is set, the only thing we use it for is to fix something that came up.
And I think one of the foundational issues here is a charter for the town that would kind of help just set these, you know, so there is not as much gray area on how to account for these things and where it goes. So
I agree.
I think
we don't have a charter. I did quite a bit of studying to find out whether it was charter or not, but good, Brenda.
Yeah, I've been actually talking to Joe about it. I think I've chanted it like several times when he's come in my office. They need a charter, you need a charter, because it's kind of like your playbook of how you want your town run. And that would work well, because then whoever happens to be on the board, it doesn't really matter. You've got a playbook, and then there's no discrepancy on that. I did want to, the reason I came back to the microphone is I just wanted to go on record with something. I really was not in agreement back when we did the fiber bond. I thought that we should have done some sort of a payment from our fund balance on that. It's not something, I was directed to do that bond, but I was not in agreement with it. And I just wanted to go on record telling you that. I think there is another way that we could have funded that program. It's going to go over several years that this thing is developed. And right now, we're sitting on this note, to me, was silly.
there's taxable interest on that.
There is, and
Yes.
then it's going to also involve us having to do another audit just for that.
Without getting into a whole
different type of bond.
Excuse me, sorry. Without getting into a whole lot of detail, if we hadn't used the surplus, it would have been revenue in another place. Because if we'd used surplus, we'd be in a worse situation right now.
Well, okay, so if you hadn't used surplus, and I wasn't here like when all that stuff went on, but if you hadn't used surplus to buy down your points, you would have had it to do this project.
Good point.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So when I said I had like ideas on better ways to try to fund different projects, that's kind of where I was headed. I'm not a bond freak. Like, I don't think it's good to just run out and bond everything. Sometimes there's more creative ways to finance the projects, especially if they're going to go over several years.
I agree. What you just said made a lot more sense. When you're relying on your staff and your professionals that come in and say, let's do it this way, as a board, 99% of the time, we're going to just go along with it, because that's why we pay you to be the staff and to take care of those problems.
So I had gone to several places trying to find some sort of decent financing. I'm not really thrilled about what we have now. I wish there was a way out of it, actually. I've been trying to think of a way out of this, to where maybe we could pay it off and then just pay on an annual basis whatever debt we incur from that development, from that project. It's a thought I had. I wanted to present it to you because I wanted you to be aware of my thoughts on it in the beginning.
Well, no, I don't think anyone on this board's opposed to you coming in and, on an agenda item and describing a way to save money. We like that. And so, especially before the next budget process.
Right.
I think what we have been doing, and I have talked to the chair of the budget committee, is to try to get as much information now so that we're not doing this in April or March.
Oh, yeah.
Under the pressure, like a select board meeting on Friday before the Tuesday night meeting. We're
Right.
trying to do the same thing in the budget. So if you've got a suggestion and you've got it worked out, put it on the
Yeah,
agenda.
for
We'd
sure.
love to hear it.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm ready to put this to bed, like I said, and I think that it's unfortunate, but and again, we don't have a charter because that would have helped,
Yeah.
but they chose not to. So I don't need to talk any more about this. It's kind of, we can close it out. And
Update.
oh yeah, the audit update. And all we're looking for is the same thing that the select board looked for last year.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, to get an audit completed in February or March while we're putting the budget together, I know it takes that much time sometimes to go through all the invoices and everything else, but we really would like to kind of know what's going on so that we can start the budget
Yeah.
process earlier. So Brenda, you're on again. Thank you.
So with that being said, I honestly, I've spent a lot of time kind of going back in time, and it's taken me away from getting them what they need from 25. So now I'm behind. I did just speak with them. I had another Zoom. I stay in touch with them on a pretty regular basis. I just had a Zoom with them, and now they bumped me out to October 7th is my date
To start the
to
audit?
start.
Whoa.
Normally, an audit, even under perfect circumstances, it should be able to be done if everything is correct. January, February, that's usually the earliest I've ever seen one completed, and that's if all your ducks are in a row and everything is clean.
So if it's been bumped out, will we start seeing the monthly expense and revenue sheets that we used to see on a regular basis?
Well, I
You know,
did.
So we can't, are you talking about this current fiscal
This
year or
year?
last fiscal
This-
year?
this
This
one.
current fiscal year, yes, you'll start seeing those.
Yeah.
Those are,
Yep.
the budget's inputted, we can
Okay.
pull those exact, but
Okay. That's important for the
Yeah.
budget process.
yes.
Right.
And for us to do even our quarterly review.
And I did
100%.
send a current 2025 potential end. I still have some adjusting entries to make to it.
So is that trial run you gave us?
This is actually for budget finance for
The
tomorrow.
budget finance.
So, yeah.
That one.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
They have one for
yeah.
expense and one for the revenues, but I still have adjusting entries to make on that.
And this last thing, and I'll let, again, 23, 24 is behind us, but for purposes of anything that we have to deal with on a financial matter, can we just send the same copy to the budget committee so that we're all on the same page? We're
Yep.
talking about better communications. I
Yeah.
think we're reading something and then they're getting it a couple of days later.
No,
I
that's
think the
fine.
more we can communicate with each body that's involved with the budget would be that much better, so thank you.
Yeah, I can do that.
yeah.
Okay.
That's,
So just to answer your question though, because it's October, okay, I'm thinking we're looking at probably maybe the end of February.
Well, let me ask you this question then. When you do a normal revenue and expense sheet, come June, you can't really be accurate because you have invoices coming in July, you're paying
That's
them
right.
out. By August, you pretty much know where everyone's budget is, so we could see who spent what going into the next budget, correct? We don't have to wait for the audit. We just need to know what the operating budget of the town was so that we can have somewhere to start the process, correct?
Pretty much, yeah,
That's what we'd like.
pretty much.
Yep.
The problem though, for me, is I started the fiscal '25 year, I began it basically in September for all intents and purposes. And when I came on board in September 24, there were still movements that needed to be corrected. So I'm gonna experience some of the same angina that I experienced in the last year for that first little over a quarter of the year. Those were corrections I had to make.
Oh, you're saying there'll be some details that won't be perfect.
That's right.
I understood that. I think we all know that happens with a flexible, the way we run the budget anyway.
Right.
I understand. Until the audit's complete, you don't know about the things that were missed or put in the wrong spot in order to get
That's
very accurate.
That's correct.
But at least it gives us a start, which is good enough to say.
I think things are looking a lot better at this point, though. I mean, I worked with the cash side to button down not having conflict of interest when you're taking in revenues and expenses. There really should be, just for your reference, there should be no cash received on my side. If you went on my side of the hall, that should be all the spending. The other side of the hall takes in all the cash. I've had to go in and change several of the revenue accounting that was in there for the ladies to take revenue in. That had a lot to do with some of these things being posted to expense accounts, money's coming in instead of revenue accounts. I've pretty much wiped them all out, so we should have all things going in the right direction so that if I do give you a revenue report, you can actually see everything. Whereas historically, some of those revenues were being booked to expenses, so you weren't even being captured, which is another thing that changes the audit projection. Because if all those revenues weren't really in your revenue side, it hurts you, really. So that has a lot to do with the adjusting entries, too.
Thank you.
Okay.
October. All right. The junior high, I have to call it a different building here shortly.
So I know it says consideration of forming the JSMS building committee, but we also just instructed him in the workshop to come back to us with a recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Table it to next.
So I
Yeah,
say we're
okay.
tabling.
And I think we gave them a few guidelines with, like, members of all the different committees, which is kind of cool, to just get it started, lay out the foundation. So
We need to make
we'll
a-
table until the next
Do we
meeting.
need to make a motion to table?
I don't know.
No, I mean, we had discussion over it.
Okay.
so.
All right.
Yeah, only if if a vote is necessary.
Okay.
But it's already going to be on the agenda 2 weeks early. All right. And the comprehensive plan is the next thing, the implementation committee. And I'm going to turn this over to you, where you were on it, to talk about, obviously, we're all excited about it, and we want to get moving on it, but how do you see this moving? How would you like to see it move?
I'm going to continue to pass the ball to Joe, because I would like to know your recommendation. I mean, I think essentially what we would be asking for is an X number of committee members, and that we would be requesting that someone from one or two or maybe more committee members who served on the comprehensive plan committee actually be on this as well. And then I think that there also should be staff.
Yep.
So I'd like to hear your
Okay.
recommendation on this, please.
Yeah, I will, I first want to see what other comprehensive plan implementation committees have as a base template. I think that'll be good, but I think pulling in a select board member, budget finance committee member, and then anyone that was transitioned from the original plan, if they want to join, and then putting out the rest for applications, so.
The visionary committee?
From the comp plan.
Comp plan people. I think he's talking about the people that were all on the.
Yeah,
on
the
committee.
original.
So you would want, my guess is you would want, at least one person that served on the comprehensive plan committee to also continue to serve on the implementation
Correct.
committee.
Absolutely.
To allow for some continuity.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, I would say for staff, maybe more of a representative, if there's any topics on the agenda, instead of having them have to be at that, on that committee. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
if there's something that's coming up, like the open space plan, we need the Parks and Rec director for that, then that would be, assigned for them to show up for that meeting.
And the reason I was talking about the Visionary School Committee is they already are, that's some of the things in the comp plan were with the school. And so if you
Correct.
take someone from that committee, and that reason I brought it up,
Yeah.
put one of those people on. So the more people that are already interacting towards the comp plan, or a piece of it. the
Caleb,
better.
weren't you on that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Weren't you on that? Were you on the vision committee for the JSMS?
Yes.
You could take care of three
And
of those.
comp, so there's three people right up with
Bundle,
one person,
bundle,
and the
and-
select
So
board.
I will account for 3? Do I also get the
3
votes?
You get paid 3 times as much. Just saying.
Yes, and volunteerism.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, that's the simplest and I think best way to move forward on it, regardless of all the joking around and everything. I think that it's the way to go, and it's, once that's established,
Yeah.
we'll put it on the agenda.
Perfect.
And
Try to come up with a template. And
Are you taking applications for both of these, J and K?
I think at
Yes.
some point, yes. But let me formalize kind of what we're looking for and maybe.
I would strongly like to move forward this by the next meeting. if
Okay.
possible.
I will,
please.
okay.
And-
I'll get that done.
And obviously, it's busy times, no matter what. I realize
I know.
that. That's things we've asked for to even get started on the budget committee. But the time schedule would be part of the template he's going to do, so that we actually will see, I think, I'm not speaking for you, but
Correct, yeah, roadmap where
Right.
we're going
So-
and all that, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's
I think roadmap, sort of how long do we think that this will last? People need to know what they're getting into.
Yeah, kind of the long
I just
term.
feel like there needs to be a little bit more information.
Especially if you're signing up for that, right? Or trying to be appropriated
As
to
far
that
as the
board.
numbers go, Joe, you might want to just look at how many were on the last implementation committee.
Yep.
Just as a base, and then,
Look
like
at
you
the
said, come
history.
up with a template, what other towns do.
Okay, I'll do that.
Peter?
Peter Levitt, 2 Lever Road. I'm just going to take this opportunity, although it's a stretch on the agenda, to speak to this. Simply a request, and I wanted to get it in before public comment because I'd like an action taken on it, which would mean a vote. And basically, just following the 2004 comprehensive plan, they actually were, as we were, formed by the Select Board. And in 2004, once the plan was adopted, the Select Board formally disbanded the comprehensive plan. So suggestions that, well, Kayla's still on it. Well, she is until you formally disband.
Oh, good point.
So a vote that would just disband the comprehensive plan committee would just be a piece of housekeeping I'd appreciate.
I don't know. I think we keep them around.
Well, we won't go 20 years the next time. You'll still be around.
Yeah.
I think it's a good suggestion.
I
Um,
do too.
I'd entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion that we disband the comprehensive plan committee as of tonight.
Do I have to abstain?
Well, you
It's a
don't have
conflict of
to.
interest.
I
I'm
don't
just
know if
kidding.
that's a
I'll
conflict.
second.
I'll second.
I'll second. I was just
There's a conflict of interest.
And with a large appreciation and thank you. We know how much work this took in all the committees, like Chris said, but that one in particular, I watched probably half of them, and I felt like, man, these people, they're talking the way I think. And so there's much appreciation for it.
Not just the committee members, the public that was involved
Yes.
in that as well.
Yes, all the public meetings, the one at Public Safety was amazing. So, with that said, all those in favor of the motion? I kind of hate to disband it. though. Well, we're up.
There's
for
a
pub-
hat you can take off, Peter.
All right, public comment. There's been a few things discussed. We're still an hour ahead of 9, so we did well.
We're doing good.
Grace Levitt, Levitt Road. This ties in with your previous discussion on budgets and budgeting. I just wanted to relay from the most recent RSU Board of Directors meeting that the board has set a goal of trying to find additional ways to communicate about the budget process for the RSU. There's a lot of information that we put out that's there on the website. People can attend meetings online on YouTube. They can watch them later on, and it's a constant push to get information out. We can't make people take the information in. So we're just trying to find some other ways to be sure that people are understanding what the process is and being informed along the way. So it kind of ties in with what you were talking about earlier this evening. I would like to ask that the cable channel 3 show more up-to-date school board meetings. They are very dated. I'm not sure what the problem is there with showing some that are from quite a while ago. That can certainly help communicate. And I'm not sure why the RSU 14 Board of Directors meetings are not on the Raymond calendar. If they could be listed there, it might just catch somebody's eye. They might pay attention. They used to be, and I'm not sure when that stopped, but that could help. There is one tomorrow evening at Jordan Small School. It's usually the first and third Wednesdays of the month. There's a lot of really good things going on in the district, and so watching those meetings would be great to be sure people are understanding all that is happening. And the middle school project is, as you maybe read in the Wyndham Eagle, and I'm really grateful for the articles that they include there and helping to inform the public through that means. It's going along really well, on schedule. Under budget at this point, and just moving along pretty quickly, and so it's just exciting to watch that happening. It's going to be a fantastic facility for our students. Reminder about Wyndham Raymond Adult Ed as well. You got sometime in the last few weeks the brochure with all that's offered through that program. And I really appreciated at your August meeting that Select Person Gonzalez reminded folks that school was beginning and to watch out for our school buses. I do still want to just remind folks of that and be sure that people are keeping our kids safe, which segues right into my usual remarks in public comment about traffic safety. So I did finally yesterday just see one of the sign that I thought I was going to see more frequently in the last few months that would show, your speed that you're going and remind you to slow down. I did just see it yesterday on North Raymond Road. Unfortunately, it was for the cars going the other direction, so it did not remind the person who was behind me and didn't like the fact that I was going the speed limit and decided to pass me over the double yellow line. It was not too far from the new stop signs at that intersection, so I did see that at least that person stopped at the stop sign because I was really worried that he wouldn't. She, I don't know who the driver was. It was a white pickup truck. But in any case, still very concerned about people that are speeding, very concerned about various roads in town, some of the intersections that are just dangerous and really need some more traffic mitigation things going on. Having just heard about the budget for the town, I'm not sure if this would fit in, but if there's anything that I can do to help encourage that we get some of those signs posted that would remind people you're exceeding the speed limit, and hopefully it helps at least some people to slow down and mind the speed limits and be more careful. I have seen so many more of them posted, permanent ones now, in the surrounding towns. I don't know if you've noticed them, but I've noticed them. And again, it's just that little bit of a reminder that can help. It's not a solution. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know why there are so many problems with people not obeying traffic laws. Yesterday, there was an accident right on 302 that I passed by. Again, there were several vehicles involved. It had just happened. They were taking photos of the scene by the time I passed by it, but we just don't need this, and so hopefully we can do more as a town to keep everybody safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Peter?
Beloved 2 Levitt Road. So just to segue into my wife's comments, just to make you aware, if you didn't have an opportunity to see the planning board meeting, the last one, there was an interesting comment from our code enforcement officer. And the discussion was really centered around short-term rentals because they are working up, and I believe shortly Selectmen will be looking at a draft short-term rental ordinance. But what the code enforcement officer said, because the discussion usually disintegrates down into nuisance issues, where I've been kind of singing the mantra that the focus for that ordinance needs to be on life safety and environmental impact. The other stuff, let it come, it'll come, but the comprehensive plan says very clearly what the people wanted, what the comprehensive plan committee wanted was to start collecting data. And the way to do that is either through licensure or a registration. And by the way, there's also a little bit of a revenue in there. I said the R word. So, but besides all that, what the code enforcement officer said that piqued my interest was this. Of all the nuisances that he's been involved with, or calls or complaints involving short-term rentals in Raymond, it's been neighbors complaining about speeding. In the fact that they're worried about their kids going up and down the roads because there's people that really aren't from the neighborhood that are there and they're just zipping back and forth. And I just thought that was an interesting comment. And the only other question I'd ask, and is probably in the town manager's update, but I'd like to hear where we are with the resiliency grant. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comments and turn it over to the select board. Anyone would like to speak? Any comments?
I have a small comment. I think I already mentioned them before, but it might have been in our meeting, pre-meeting to the other meeting, but we had a great community event down at Tasseltop. I don't know when it was, last week?
2 weekends?
Two weekends, I don't know. It was a couple of weekends or last weekend or something, but it was a beautiful day. Lots of families down at the beach, a lot of events. There was a 5K or 5, I don't know, I don't run for fun. I think that's absolutely crazy, but go. You guys that did, that was amazing. I finished first because I went in my truck, but it was a great time. We were able to talk about community and, you know, getting together with meetings and all these other things, and that was one way to get together as a community, and we had a pretty decent turnout. It would have been I think we're going to grow on that, and it should be a fun event for the future. And also, kind of like with Kayla's comments last time about schools now in session, we also have sporting events in session for right in the middle of this road for school soccer, and there's, I think, even running for fun again is
Cross country.
Cross country, so they got to run through the woods and they're running around every which way. So for one, look out for that. Don't speed up and down. There's going to be people parked on the side of the road. But also, if you're bored, swing over. There's a lot of people that work really hard. Coaches and kids work really hard to go to these. So to have some community support would be great. And they're doing really well. That's all I got for you.
Thank you. Chris?
Well, I almost wanted to say this at the beginning of the meeting as a reaction to the assassination in Utah of Charlie Kirk. And I'm going to read this because this makes it easier for me to read it than to say it. We, the Raymond Select Board, recognize our individual and collective responsibilities as leaders and representatives of our community. To this end, we pledge to conduct ourselves in a manner befitting these roles and duties. We pledge and encourage others to be the influence and to recognize that decisions matter, and having civil discourse and not be yelling and screaming at meetings. This is a productive meeting. The last few meetings have been very productive, and I'm proud to be on the Select Board for that reason.
Thank you. Kayla?
I know we've already said this and we're hammering it in, but on the second day of school, someone already passed the bus that my child gets off of with her on the side of the road and the lights and the sign out. So just please be aware of that because it's already happened, and it sure will not be the last time this year. And then I also did want to just encourage everybody to love their neighbor near and far, please.
It's pretty hard to follow these things up, but I will tell you that I take being chair of this committee very seriously, and I will spend as much time as necessary to find out what went wrong with policies or procedures, and and I asked more questions than you'll ever find. It drove all the firefighters in Portland nuts. They never wanted to go to training with me, and what I don't want to do is drive away the public. What I'd like to see is more people sitting here asking us questions, more people who understand they're a part of what we do. It was a very difficult night for us even to vote in the tax rate. But I think what we did is took in advice the people we hired to do the job and to respect their opinion and to realize that even when we have to deal with something as unpopular and distasteful as tax increases, we are going to try to make the departments everything that they're supposed to be. We have very good departments on all across the board. Recreation has been the largest expanding department we've had since it started 4 years ago when we really hired you during the COVID. And I think that everyone knows that. I'm excited to see the school coming. I really am. I'm excited to see the comp plan being implemented. This is maybe the brightest, I don't know, I wouldn't call them golden years, but I would say they're the brightest future I see right now with people on this board that really care about the community moving forward. And that's not to discount and say the other boards didn't care about the community, but we're going to have an opportunity to do something with the school, and it's going to be taxes. And there's an opportunity that we may have a park in the works on Main Street. We talked about it 3 years ago. I think it's a great possibility. We need to be all we can be. 12 years I ran calls in this town, and I fell in love with the citizens. I didn't really notice the tax rate. The people won me over. This became my forever home, to the point where I left it to my grandkids. This is a special town, not just the lakes, but the people. And so mistakes will be made by this new board, but I really believe we're all in this together, and I hope that message radiates and goes out to the community and more people get involved. With that said, I appreciate everyone being here. Turn it over to the town manager for his comments.
Yeah, town manager's report. I think the first big one is, I know she'll probably be embarrassed, but our own Melanie Fernald won Interstate Association Rookie Clerk of the Year. Yeah. Brenda,
She's a rookie.
She's yeah. She was even confused. She didn't know until she was they're reading off the the list, and then you could start seeing her go, wait, sounds like something I do. And then she looked over and saw all of us there. But thank you for Brenda for nominating Melanie, and Melanie, it's been great to work with you. So some good positive notes there. We're still working on the website migration. So Melanie, Melissa, Kevin from IT, we're working with the website to now integrate. You'll see these nice new agendas that are coming, and they're able to come almost live edit. So as things come in, and we all know changes, questions, new packets, stuff like that. So as that happens, Melanie or myself will put it in there, and then that link that you guys are getting emailed out shows it live as it's being formed. So now that we have those kind of timelines set, I think it's going to be a way simpler and effective process to keep all of us in the loop and then get that posted for the public. Then once we get the website, all of that will now be on the website under its own agenda on the calendar. So some really good features there, and I think with how small we are, but how big of services and I think some action that we have here, that this is going to be a great way to kind of have everyone more informed, along with their communication modules there. An update on the resiliency grant. Unfortunately, we had it pegged down for the open space plan. As that was ready to be implemented, Kate talked to Matt Marcotte from Lunatic Land Trust, and he said he already has funds set aside for that. So with not enough time to kind of pivot, we have some ideas, but I think the next round will be in March. So we're going to come back to that, and we're submitted, we're there. So we just have to pick a path forward on that. And we have some ideas working with public safety, and I think there's some good opportunities there to use that grant in the future. Public safety, just to say there's been a lot of notable incidents this summer. They've been working hard. One in my neighborhood, another, 302, there's been a lot of crashes, a lot of tragic crashes. So really just a lot going on for them, and just want to say thank you for working so hard this summer. One of the busiest I've seen. I've been here 8 years. So Squad 38, I think that's getting closer to the ceremonial push-in. Okay, so that's coming up. So we'll let everybody know when that is happening.
The what?
So you push the truck into the bay. That's how you know it's done. So, yeah, learning about all these things, So we'll make an announcement, get that posted when that happens. Derek stole my thunder in this one, but UCAN 5K was a success. We had 73 registrants for the first revival of this great event. So thanks to Parks and Rec for that. We also had, I think we had 23 for the children's fun run. So that was awesome. I participated in that one. Still didn't win.
And several large donations as well.
And we had a lot of large donations from local businesses. So that was a great community event. And then right after that, we had the Raymond Day at Tasseltop. So I had a lot of people say that they've lived here their whole lives and never been in. So hopefully we'll get some people at Tasseltop from Raymond there. Soccer, after school, cross country, pickleball, hiking club, youth tennis are all ongoing right now. The youth tennis program's already had a wait list, so it's just a quick demo to see if there's interest, and there is. So that's exciting. We have upcoming for Parks and Rec, basketball, ski club, indoor pickleball, indoor basketball, play and grow toddler group, and the return of those special Christmas winter events coming up. So just be on the lookout for those. Raymond Village Library, they have some great special events coming up. Some other programs, a puzzle competition on September 25th. I'm not sure if that's Bring Your Own Puzzle, but they'll have that on their website. They also have firefighter story time on October 1st, so it's a great collab. I know Richard has been meeting with other departments to try and do some interdepartmental programming and stuff like that. So it's exciting. And then they're also selling Maine Mariners tickets as well. It's kind of I think a fundraiser. So since they have a front-facing office, that's available to purchase there. So those are my updates. Let's go with the regular meeting dates. So we have October 14th.
Before we move on, can I
yes,
ask you a question?
Of course.
Can we combine what Grace said with either the minutes or some of the stuff that we should be reading about the school and put it on our webpage so that we go to one spot to see what's going on with the school as well as the town? Or do we have to go to the school?
No, we can. So one of the things is one of the good features with this new website is it has a news feature itself. So it will post things that you want either in a timeline, or it can kind of I guess like a news feed, it'll auto put it at the front. So if there's something important or an update, and maybe one of the school board members could let us know, we can post it right on the front of the website or pin it to kind of have that site. So we can work on that, Grace, if you like. So October 14th will be the next regular meeting. And then the November meeting date falls on a holiday. So I think we're looking at, November 11th, I believe.
No, that is the holiday.
That is the holiday, so not then.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day. Sorry, I had that and Election Day, both on those Tuesdays. So we don't have to make a decision now, but could make in October. That would put us at November 18th.
Election 4th, so 18th is all we have.
Yeah, so there's two.
Yep.
Right there. So I don't know if we want to move it out to November 18th, if we want to sit on that and see if we can fit it in during the week. One of those,
Are we all okay with October? I thought there was an issue there.
I think
October 14th all set?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
All right.
October 14th,
Okay.
I believe that was.
I was busy trying to get my phone out. Some of us move slower these days.
I think at this point, November 18th is fine for me.
Okay.
Personally, I don't know if that's okay for everybody else.
It's already in my calendar as the 18th, so I don't know why, but let's go with that.
I'm good.
Yep, does it for me.
Or we could just do it on Thanksgiving.
As long as you brought the meal.
Yeah, we-
Serving?
Bring some sides.
On the town calendar, the planning board meeting that would have been on the 12th has been moved, so that's, if you want to do a Wednesday
Okay.
that week, that date is available.
The 12th?
Yeah, November 12th would be that date, so it's up to you guys.
I'd rather do the 18th.
Keep it on Tuesday.
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Tuesday is something that sticks in my head now.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Me too.
Sometimes
Yeah,
we
me too.
dread. Well, again, getting older.
I know. I can remember if it's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, we'll put that in calendar. We have upcoming closings. Indigenous Peoples Day, Monday, October 13th. That's when town office is closed, so it's not going to affect anything. Veterans Day, Tuesday, November 11th. Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 27th, and the day after, Friday, November 28th, town office will be closed. And that concludes those updates.
Well, that concludes the meeting. I want to thank everyone that's taken the time to come in here. You make a difference. I want to tell you every time. Adjourn. And I'm entertaining adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?